She is a transpersonal psychology practitioner and the creator of the DecodeYou methodology, an author, and she integrates psychology, nervous system regulation, and deeper consciousness based approaches for healing. How are you, Shormishtha Mitra? Shormishtha Dey?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So today we will talk about how our mind, how our subconscious mind actually work on our thoughts and which can push us towards mental illness or towards discomfort or not so to speak within ourselves all the time. And we actually this whole talk into four sections. So fundamentals, then mechanism, then application, and then integration. So first is the fundamentals or the foundation, the core, and basically the core is our mind. So Sharmishtadi, what is the mind? Is it located or distributed in our body, in our head?
There is something very interesting that I came up with, and I want to ask you this. You ask somebody about something, you ask them what's on your mind, right? You don't ask them what's in your brain, do you? So that means that itself makes the brain and the mind separate. Otherwise, we would have said what's in your brain. So basically, the mind is the whole body, and brain is just the structure. The mind includes the brain, but the brain is only a part of the mind. The mind is a set of survival based programs running through the entire system. It is the brain, which is the processor, the nervous system, which responds to the process, and the body, which expresses and adapts. So, all together becomes the mind now.
What do you mean by this subconscious? I know you work deeply onto it. How does it function in behavior and perception? So, what is subconscious, firstly, and then how it actually works?
Now, we spoke about the mind, and the mind is divided into three layers. The first layer is the conscious, which we are all aware of. You think you know something, you observe, you express, that's your conscious. Then comes the subconscious, and the last part is the unconscious. The unconscious is all the automatic functions of the body is controlled by the unconscious. But the subconscious is everything that you have learned, but it is not in your conscious. That means it runs automatically. It includes your emotional reactions, like what emotion is going to be triggered when you're experiencing an event, your behavioral patterns, that's controlled by the subconscious, your identity, your beliefs, those have been formed throughout your lifetime, and your habits. Good, bad, doesn't matter. All habits, these are controlled and a part of the subconscious mind. It is efficient, fast, and largely outside the conscious control. So we cannot control the subconscious with the conscious mind. And its only job is survival. So it helps us to keep things predictable and familiar. Conscious is just this moment, what you're doing, what you're thinking, very limited access of the mind you have, which is 10% of the mind, you have access to that. So 90%, you don't have any access. The rest 90% is the subconscious and the unconscious. Subconscious and unconscious is kind of, you can say, equal, because unconscious plays a very big role in every autonomic function in our body.
So, you said conscious, subconscious, unconscious, right?
Right.
So, how we are storing data in these three layers, or how we filter it?
Basically, the filtering is based on, again, past memory. There is a baseline threshold. So, a child born today will have every experiences for the first time, right? And based on the outcome of those experiences, there is a memory that is already coded. Now, in the future, the child will have multiple such memories, but every new memory or every new experience will be evaluated on the first experience that the child has had. Let's say right now, wherever you are, you're having a very happy, pleasant experience. And we have five prominent sensory organs. And through those sensory organs, the brain is collecting data based on this experience that you're having right now. And those datas are micro datas, which conscious mind cannot detect. those are stored in the subconscious. But what you will remember in your conscious mind is, oh, I was sitting in this place, or I was eating something, or I was with this person. And the happy memory is only what you will remember. The micro datas you will not remember. And the micro data could be that in the same experience, the color of the wall where you're sitting, let's say, is blue, and there is a flower, a particular flower, and a particular scent that comes out of the flower is also kept on a table in that room, but you will never remember those finer details. But let's say going forward in the future, you enter a room where you have that particular scent coming to your nose. Now your subconscious memory is activated, and you will find this scent very pleasant to you. It is not because the scent is pleasant or unpleasant, it's because it is triggering the pleasant experience that you had previously when this flower was in a corner of that room. Does that make any sense to you?
So that means, in a way, our bigger manifestation kind of controlled by our subconscious.
Absolutely.
Right. So that means how we are storing our experiences into subconscious kind of has a bigger role to play how we what we will manifest in life down the line, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's a generalized way of saying that. But as I said, there are so many micro datas that adds up to that bigger generalization of manifestation. Unless you attend to those micro datas, the manifestation or whatever you want to achieve will still be obstructed.
We are working or we are going through in the world doing our day to day activity. The second phase is emotional and the psychological process by which we are actually sometimes feeling happy, sometimes feeling sad. How should we understand trauma, stress, and anxiety beyond just a positive and negative emotion?
Again, we generalize emotions as happy and sad. And if I ask you the question, I think it's very difficult for people to answer at one go. What is happiness?
Maybe just feeling good, maybe the situation, maybe the environment, maybe whatever is happening in my mind, if I can have a little bit of control.
Exactly. So, happiness is a state of contentment or perceived contentment when our expectations are fulfilled.
Right.
And sadness is the opposite, a state of discontentment when we are disappointed with ourselves and others.
Right. We call it like stress, anxiety, trauma, all these three. How you segregate that?
Trauma is again a sense of or a fear of rejection. Even if somebody is not directly rejecting you, even when you feel or you are afraid that you're going to be rejected because of this, people will not like you because of this. That creates a sense of emotional trauma. Here, we are only talking about emotional state, we are not talking about physical trauma. So, every time anybody has felt rejected, perceived rejection, or we had a fear of rejection, that creates a sense of trauma, stress, anxiety, because the brain perceives rejection as a threat. Again, why? This is also social conditioning. If you go back in history from the hunter gatherers stages of human society to how human survival dependent on collective coexistence and rejection from your tribe, like early humans when they lived in a tribe, and the tribe would provide that level of safety. They would fight together, they would defend themselves together, they would hunt together. So that created a sense of safety and a survival related safety within us. And that is the programming that is still running in our minds, where the moment we feel rejected, it creates a sense of threat to that extent that it also can create a sense of dread in some people.
Is it fear of unknown also come in the same bracket?
Same. Again, the brain is programmed to feel safe with familiarity. And anything which is unfamiliar, the brain perceives that as a threat. So the
Right.
fear of unknown is something which is again evolutionary.
All of us, we experience good bad thing in our life. Let's say joblessness, somebody teaches, many of these negative situations we kind of adapt and we move on, but there
Yeah.
are some situations where we can't move on. How that emotions kind of concretize to that state where it's maladaptive.
So basically, when we were speaking earlier, I told you that there is nothing negative. No emotion is negative. It is only a regulated response that you give to the situation or to what you're feeling, or you give a dysregulated response to what you're feeling. Now, stress and anxiety are not problems at all. Because remember, whatever is causing you anxiety, on the other side, it is also causing you excitement. So, how can you say anxiety is bad and excitement is good? It's coming from the same root. It's what response you're giving to your emotion that changes the equation. When the problem is there, we know that we all have to go through situations, challenges, circumstances which are beyond our control. They are going to be there. Sometimes they're going to be disproportionate as well. That's why this is very important for us to learn. It is a training, Gautam. It doesn't happen by default. So that's why it is very important from early childhood we have to learn how to reach baseline faster, especially when in situations which we cannot control. And if we stay in that dysregulated state for a longer period of time, then obviously, even though we are unable to control what is happening outside of us, the little control we had inside of us, we will also lose that because we have not learned that. It is a training. It doesn't come naturally because it is not taught in schools, in universities, it's not taught anywhere. So, unless we train ourselves, our minds, to go back to baseline as fast as we can, even if we are in a situation which is disproportionate, the threat is disproportionate, or the challenge is disproportionate, we will have to pay a price. Sometimes we pay a price through our behavior. Our behavior becomes reactive and it hurts others and ourselves. It can sabotage us and harm others. And in most cases, even if we have control over behavior, we cannot control our health. So eventually, our nervous system, the longer it stays dysregulated, the neurotransmitters, which are actually helpful for all the bodily functions, will also become dysregulated over the time. And then it will impact the health, immune system. Our immunity is going to be low, slowly fighting only the anxiety. So overall health will decline.
Now, we would like to know what is therapy. A lot of people we have some misconception about it. If someone is going through psychological discomfort, many of us we don't know where to go to a doctor or to therapy. Is it a clinical approach or a functional approach?
So again, there's a lot of taboo. Even though we are living in this modern 2026, the modern world, AI, robots, everything, but we could not really take away the taboo that is associated with the word therapy, right? Because people think therapy means that you don't have any control over yourself, and that's where you need help because you are completely lost. That's why, for me, therapy is a wrong term. I don't use that term in my practice. My practice is subconscious mind training. So here I am training you how to train your mind and how to have a low time frame to reach your baseline. How quickly you can regulate your nervous system. That is the training that is required for everybody. Therapy, again, is a term that's used when things are out of control, that you need somebody who is an expert to guide you, to bring you back to the baseline. So, what therapy does, it basically helps you in a structured way update the patterns. When we are in the problem, we are very much emotionally entangled. So, it's very difficult for us to become the meta observer of ourselves and also of the situation. And we are mostly in a reactive state. So, our neocortex is not functioning properly. We lose analytical power and rationality. And then somebody who is an observer and an expert, when they are guiding you, they have practice and they have seen such many cases that they know how to structure your thoughts now, put it back in the normal responsive state from the reactive state, and how that regulates the nervous system in return.
Can you please explain this baseline, how to understand that this is my baseline or this is an optimum?
We don't call this optimum. This is where your nervous system is regulated. Right now, let's say you are not threatened. There is no external threat. How you feel internally, how your nervous system is, that's the baseline. But when we are in a challenging situation, our nervous system is dysregulated. The quicker we go back to baseline, the better it is for our mental and physical health.
When does an individual, or in some cases, maybe the parent or the guardian, objectively recognize the need for intervention through therapy or through subconscious training?
So let's say when you notice that the same patterns are happening, even if it is behavior, and you're repeating the same patterns, no matter you're aware. Let's say somebody has anger issues. They are aware of it. They want to change, but they don't know how to do it. So they are repeating the behavior that's harming themselves and their loved ones as well. That's where they need help. Somebody has to intervene and give a structured plan and a technique, basically, which helps them to regulate. When you react in ways you cannot control, you need therapy then. You understand the problem, but you cannot shift from it. Then you would need therapy. For children who are persistent in emotional and behavioral dysregulation beyond what is expected of their age. Children are different from adults, right? We don't expect children to be responsible, to act like an adult. But there is an age group of that. Let's say a child in their late teens would not be expected to act like an 8 or 10 years old. So, when there is a disparity in their behavior based on their age group, then they will need therapy.
There is another problem many of us experience or try to understand, which is what differentiates basically the effective therapy from the ineffective one. Is it based on the timeline, or changing pattern also takes in its own time? It just can happen like that.
Right.
So, how, as an individual or parent or guardian, we can differentiate this effective therapy and ineffective one?
The ineffective will be that you're not seeing changes. You're not seeing getting any results. Obviously, many people go for therapy, which I see even with my clients. They come without focusing on a particular outcome. So you should always go into therapy with an outcome in your mind, and that should be communicated to your therapist clearly that this is the outcome I want to achieve. How many sessions will I require to achieve this outcome? And then what are the signs that I would see that shift is happening? And the therapist will guide you that maybe you will need 5 or 10 or 15 sessions to achieve this outcome. And these are the signs that will show you or give you the clue that something is changing within you. I know when we go into therapy, we usually are very confused. Everything feels overwhelming at that time. But I really suggest everybody who would listen to this, and then if they are willing to go for therapy, sit with yourself, take time to chalk out a plan that with your therapist that this is what I want as an outcome. It is very, very important. And then you feel that the relief again. Gautam, this is something I would like people to understand. Many people come to therapy with ROI or return on investment is I have to feel good. That's their basically outcome. I do corporate workshops, for workplaces. And I am surprised, even today's world, they ask me to go and do a session where the staff is going to feel good. What is going to be the return of that? You're going to feel good. So you can go and watch a movie, you'll feel good. You can listen to a music and you're going to feel good. You see funny videos, you're going to feel good. So why do you need a wellness program to feel good? Wellness program is for sustainable goals. It's not like just now, instant gratification. I have to feel good now. An external person is responsible for your well-being, and that is a wrong outcome or objective for therapy. And then obviously you will feel good immediately, but later on you'll not be able to sustain this within yourself because you're not developing that independence, like within yourself, how you can take care of your well-being, you're not developing. So these are some of the signs that you will notice, and that will mean that this is not working for you, and you will have to make a decision after that. You're becoming dependent on the therapist is also one sign you have to notice, that if you're becoming dependent, then this is not working for you, because the purpose of therapy is to make you autonomous. Your behavior is unchanged after consistent efforts, and there's no clear movement after 8 to 12 sessions, then something needs to change definitely. Therapy is not working.
So then what? Instead of looking for another therapy, it's better go to a doctor, or how you see it?
So, if it is very strong behavioral outcomes, then you definitely have to go and see a psychiatrist, which through medication, the symptoms need to be suppressed. When clients come to me after analyzing them, there are cases that I take and cases I wouldn't take because it is out of my zone of expertise. Then I would address them and tell them to go to a psychiatrist because they are in a state of overwhelm. And what happens is when you are in a state of overwhelm for a longer period of time, again, our neocortex or the prefrontal cortex is responsible for rationalization, analyzing. And if you lose, you are going to lose that power when you are in a state of dysregulation or overwhelm for a long period. And no number of sessions will help you then. You will have to first go and take psychiatric help, stabilize your system with medication, and then you go for counseling. Once you have to be in a state where you can receive. Otherwise, the state of overwhelm will create a lot of critical filter in your mind, which will block counseling and all the benefits of counseling. You will not be utilizing them.
As you spoke about the subconscious reprogramming or rethinking how we can quickly come down to the baseline,
Right.
is it measurable?
Measurable as in how you will know that your nervous system is recalibrated or your subconscious is reprogrammed, right? That's what
Yes,
you're asking?
yes, yes. I'm moving ahead.
Right. First of all, subconscious reprogramming is a lifelong state. You learn the techniques to do that, and then you have to be at it for the rest of your life because our brain is wired default mode to be reactive. Fight and flight mode, when the brain perceives threat, is a reactive mode, and that is the default mode. Subconscious reprogramming helps you to actually differentiate real threat from perceived threat and imaginary threats. And when you can do that, you are in a state, much heightened state of awareness. And that is where you choose which requires reactiveness and which event requires response, which you will be able to address a situation from that level of heightened awareness. And you will notice that within yourself. What do you do as a person when you are challenged? What you used to do before and what do you do now? Some people have very strong coping mechanisms, so they can manage the external event, the external challenge very well. But what they don't know, and majority of the people in the world, they don't know, is to how to manage their internal process, their thoughts, their emotions, their nervous system. That is what subconscious reprogramming also teaches you, how to recalibrate your internal processes. Because no matter how well you adapt in the outside, if you don't know how to regulate your internal processes, you are ruminating, you're overthinking, you are thinking about how to overcome the challenge in the future. And that every time you think of the problem, your internal system is activated in the same way as if you are in the real problem. So people don't know that just by thinking of the problem state can activate the nervous system and neurotransmitters in the same way when you are actually in the problem. That's why the real problem and the imaginary problem has to be differentiated.
How this is fundamentally different from brainwashing, because that is also kind of happen in a bad cult way many times.
Yeah, so reprogramming is conscious. You choose. It's repetitive. You have to keep on doing it. And it's based on your awareness. And you achieve a state of heightened awareness and you become autonomous. You are not dependent on anybody. And brainwashing is imposed by others. And it removes your critical thinking, right? You don't have any power to logically think and rationalize and analyze. You are brainwashed to think what others want you to think. It overrides your sense of identity and it takes control over you. So you don't have any autonomy anymore. But reprogramming gives you the control. Brainwashing takes it away from you.
This nervous system recalibration, what you talked about, is that the reason when the trauma or the negative impact of a particular event is so big that in some cases maybe throughout the life we want to kind of fleeing from it, kind of avoiding it?
I mean, if you understand the nervous system, you would know that the role of the nervous system is activation and transmission of information, isn't it? So, transmission of information, when it happens, the information is transmitted into the brain, sets the nervous system into the state of defense. Activation happens between fight, flight, and freeze. And then automatically the system regularizes, or regulation happens when the perceived threat is gone. But trauma disrupts this balance. Imagine our prehistoric ancestors living in hostile environments. There is a tiger or a bear, their nervous system is activated, they have to run for life or fight the animal. Once they have reached a state of safety, the nervous system regularizes again. Today's society, we are not facing the bear or the tiger every day, but our emotions are creating a same state within us where trauma is disrupting that same balance and causing the nervous system to constantly go into fight, flight, and freeze mode. Recalibration means restoring the ability to move in and out of these states appropriately. You will be into the fight and flight state, but you would know how to reach the baseline. That is recalibration.
Like if you are 40 plus, 50 plus, or even 60 plus, let's say, because a lot of elderly people going through loneliness, I guess they don't understand fully what is actual threat and what is perceived threat. With the age, after a point, you cannot regulate it, or still you can regulate it if you go through a proper therapy
If you go through proper training, you can.
at any age.
Neuroplasticity happens at any age.
Right.
That's the beauty of it, that it's not limited to a certain age group. But the training is very important. They are not in a state of overwhelm, but they want to prevent the state of overwhelm, right? You would
Mhm.
not go for therapy until you're in a state of overwhelm. But training is to avoid the state of overwhelm. The two methods that I've developed, the DecodeYou method and the mental fitness training, these are preventative methods where you train your mind to prevent that state of overwhelm, to keep your system regulated even when you are in the environment which is challenging you.
Under what conditions does trauma become clinically significant?
Trauma is not just what happened, right? It is what the system could not process. Remember that. That's why people talk about things happened in the past, but now they are safe. Everything is fine with them.
Small amount of trauma for a long period of time, or massive amount of trauma in a bang, like earthquake or massive accident and something like that. So in both cases things can happen, right?
There is nothing called small trauma, basically. Then, whatever happened to you, if your nervous system couldn't process, that is a trauma. So, when I am speaking to a client who is talking about how their husband is not giving time to them vis a vis someone else who has lost a job, so who should I think whose trauma is bigger? It's the problem which they are unable to process is a trauma to them. So, when you are unable to process something and it stays with you for a long time, that unprocessed information stays with you for a long time, it overwhelms your capacity, it repeats over and over again, it happens without support, might have even occurred early in your life, because early trauma has more impact than later age trauma.
So early means what? Up to 3 years, up to 5 years, up to teenage?
You can say up to 10 years, up to 12 years, because depends from child to child, of course.
So that means kids who are actually going through very shitty condition in their early life, first 10 years, they kind of
That
become.
will impact their personality, that will impact their habits, their behavior, their choices more intensely than somebody who has less early childhood trauma.
Today all the parents have lesser and lesser number of kids, and by default they have more resources, and they are giving anything and everything to the kids. So
Right.
how much love is too much love, or how much love is not actually love, it's actually detrimental to them?
You have to understand that whatever the parent is doing to the best of their ability, we are giving a lot more in terms of materials and resources to our children than our ancestors could or would. Now, what happens is, it doesn't mean that we are doing better than them. What it only means is that a parent who is parenting a child also has to do the parenting from a place of regulation, not from a place of dysregulation. If the parent is overwhelmed and bringing resources in abundance to their child, that resource giving is coming from a place of dysregulation. And that is how the child is going to be impacted. Because trauma, oh, I went through trauma, it's going to end with me. No, it will not end with me. I will pass it on, project it to my children. As an adult, we are responsible. Every one of us, we have to take the responsibility to regulate ourselves. and do everything that we're doing from a place of regulation, and especially for our children.
So, in this process, we are trying to heal ourselves. So, what does this healing actually mean?
The whole process is to basically not act from the same way that you acted before. The emotional charge that you had, an event, an experience in your life, which did not sit well with you. The emotional charge that you carry, the event is over, maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but we are carrying strong emotional charge inside as if it has just happened. Healing is you not carrying that strong emotional, you still remember, you don't forget, but you remember from a place of peace with that event, with that experience, not holding emotional charge inside of you when you think of that event.
That means, let's say I have to go to place A. I'm unable to go because of certain trauma I couldn't resolve within myself. I want to go to point B. So, this resilience versus trauma affected thought process, how to differentiate it, or how we can understand that we are resilient, we are not affected by our trauma.
Resilience can also come from resistance. So, that resistance, if you can take away from resilience, that means you are not affected by trauma.
Oh, okay. So that means, yeah, I can go, but I don't want to go. So there is no
But if you
resistance.
go also, there is no problem.
Then if I go also, there is no problem. Okay,
That
so
is resilience.
that's resilience. Okay. Wow. So if someone feels stuck in repetitive pattern, what is the first identifiable loop they should examine?
The person should ask themselves first that it is not like, okay, I get myself in a particular situation every time. That's one thing. But you remember this process, the journey of life is not about how I adapt to life. It's what I learn about myself as well, right? So, what is it that I feel repeatedly? And what do I do after that feeling? These are the questions that we need to observe in us first. Every loop has a structure. There is a trigger. Let's say somebody is saying something or doing something or not doing something or not saying something. That could be the trigger, the external event that creates an emotion inside of us. And then that emotion now triggers a behavior, and then we see an outcome, and that loop repeats now. So until the loop is clearly seen, it will continue, and that keeps us stuck.
We are almost in the end of our conversation. Because of social media, because of a lot of availability of information, because of education, you can say, many of us, we think that we understand our triggers, we understand our pattern, but cognitively understanding all those, we can't change our behavior.
Right.
There are many people like that. Can we help them?
People who are aware, they have a lot of information due to internet and social media, you mean, right?
Yes. So
Right.
cognitively, they are understanding that they have certain pattern. They have, okay, their childhood, this thing happened, that thing happened. But when it comes to their daily life, they are behaving in the old pattern. All those traumas
Right.
are coming, all those anxieties are coming, and they are not, a lot of resistance.
Beautiful question. Just look at it from a physical point of view. Don't look at it from a mental point of view right now, okay? Let's say we have also a lot of awareness about food and nutrition and health, how to build muscles, all of that, right? You know what food is good for you, what is not, how to cook, processed, unprocessed, all, but you are not applying it in your life. Will you get results? So, mental health and physical health works in the same way. Awareness alone doesn't bring any change. Application is what brings change. And application is not taught in internet, right? Will be not taught in social media. So you
Yeah.
will still have to go to the gym to train your body, or you have to build a gym at home to train your body. You have to still call a trainer.
To understand life means basically understand yourself, to get more and more better at it so that we can act more cautiously, consciously. And if we act consciously, we can manifest our world also more consciously and more happy. Is that the statement we can derive?
You can. So basically, the whole understanding self awareness and self discovery is about making your unconscious conscious. So the 10% of conscious mind eventually will become 15%, 20%, 25%. And the more you are conscious of your unconscious and your subconscious, the more integrated you are.
On that, we should end our podcast here. Thank you. Thank you, Sir Mr. Lee.
My pleasure.